Hey everybody, hope everyone's doing well day after Election Day. As I mentioned yesterday, earlier this week, Governor Baker of Massachusetts came down with a number of new executive orders relating to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I'm going to, each day this week, I'm going to be talking about some of these orders until we hit them all to make sure everyone understands what their rights and responsibilities are during the pandemic, particularly with regard to the state of Massachusetts and the governor's executive orders. So recently, and on Facebook and other places, other social media, I'm seeing a lot of talk about one order in particular that people are pretty much up in arms about. Is this, they're calling it a curfew. The government calls it a stay-at-home advisory. So I want to talk about that today, and I also want to talk about the executive order as it relates to business closures as well during certain hours due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The first thing is this stay-at-home advisory, people calling it a curfew. It's actually not a curfew. It is in fact an advisory. And the difference is this. There is no force of law behind it. It's just suggested as the best way to not spread the pandemic is that between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m., you not leave your house, you not be out in public, you not be doing certain things, you not be having non-household members come over, so you can't have your friends. Or you shouldn't, I shouldn't say can't. You shouldn't have your friends or your neighbors come over during those particular hours. That's, but that, again, that has no force of law. There is no penalty if you violate it. It's just what they would like you to do in order to stop the spread of the pandemic. Related to that is an actual executive order relative to the closure of certain businesses during the hours of 9:30 p.m. and 5 a.m. And basically what the order says is that these businesses can't let people in. They can't serve them during these hours, with some exceptions. But basically these businesses include restaurants between 9:30 p.m. and 5 a.m. Can't admit customers or otherwise serve them. The exception to that would be for takeout. They are allowed to serve takeout during that period of time, which includes food as well as non-alcoholic beverages. Liquor stores need to remain closed during the same period of time. Any indoor, outdoor events will not be occurring. They're not allowed to take place during the same hours. Arcades, casinos, movie theaters, drive-in movie theaters, museums, there's a whole list of places, golf facilities, boating facilities. All these places are to remain closed during this hours of 9:30 p.m. and 5 a.m. Marijuana facilities are allowed to sell only medical marijuana after 9:30 p.m. before 5 a.m., but not recreational use marijuana. That's not to be sold, just like liquor can't be sold by the liquor stores during that same period of time. And this does have force of law. If the particular company or business does violate the law, they can be subject to a civil fine. It's not a criminal thing. They're not going to be arrested and brought to court, but it's a civil fine of up to $500 per day per violation. So it's a pretty steep number for people or for businesses to make sure they're actually following these rules. They will be enforced by both the local boards for health as well as the police can get involved in these particular situations to actually enforce the law. The businesses can always appeal those violations to the district court, just like any other civil penalty, similar in so many ways to a traffic ticket like we've talked about before. But it's important to understand that it does have that force of law and it does have that penalty. So if you're a business owner and you violate these provisions, then you could be subject to that fine. One thing I will say, and I have to make clear, is that certain businesses are going to be allowed to operate. Like I said, restaurants selling takeout, grocery stores, pharmacies, other stores where you need to actually go and get things during this period of time. They don't appear to be subject to this particular order. So it's really just the stuff where you want to have fun. So really, while the stay-at-home advisory is just that, it's not binding. It doesn't have force of law. If all the fun stuff's closed at 9:30, why do you want to go out at 10 o'clock or before 10 or after 10 o'clock anyway? So I think it's just another way of the government trying to limit your ability to get around to do anything that you really want to do during this COVID-19 pandemic. And everyone has their own opinion about what measures are proper for our safety and what measures are just infringing upon our freedoms. Until someone actually takes this up in the courts, this happens to be the way things are. and we have to deal with it as it is. But I just want to make sure all of you understand your rights and responsibilities. Tomorrow we're going to talk about another one of the orders, and that's relative to gathering size. The Governor Baker is trying to limit the amount of people you're allowed to have in your house and other places, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But if you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email, or leave me a comment below the video. I'll be happy to talk to you about it.